Let me get this straight. You have been telling men for years that you don't want them, that you don't need them, that they don't meet your standards, that they don't treat you right, that you can pay for your own hair, you can pay for your own nails, you can afford your own home, you can afford your own car. Men are good for nothing. You're strong, you're independent. But then you get mad when these men go to another country to actually find a woman that has the qualities that they are looking for in a wife. Make it make sense. I also want to talk about why this mindset that so many Western women have is actually extremely problematic. Because not only are you putting down the men who are going overseas with pure intentions, you're also putting down the woman from these other countries solely off of the fact that they were not brought up in a Western culture. Because you're calling them uneducated, you're calling them poor, you're calling them weak, you're calling them vulnerable. You're creating a superiority complex where you are at the top and women from all these other countries are at the bottom. Now let me tell you something. If you were really superior, the men would not be leaving and you would not be single.
Welcome back to the channel, I think. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, she hit that kind of straight out the park. And I know that's going to hurt a lot of women that watch me. But I think the whole trend of the passport bros is really more of a wake up call. And I've never been against the passport bros. I've talked about that over and over again. I'll even admit that even here in the United States, about 50% of the women that I've dated have been from overseas. They have moved here and they've settled here now, but they were born somewhere else. And what I've seen in them is just they do treat men differently. They don't treat men the same way a lot of Western women do. But I'm going to take this back and I'm going to add a little bit of a Bible verse to kind of help, I think, some of the women to kind of understand what's really going on. Jesus talked about how, a prophet, pastor, whatever you want to call him, is generally not appreciated in his own home among his own kin. See, there's a situation where sometimes a lot of people, they take you for granted because they think they have access to you. Does that make sense? It's like, you think you have something and therefore you take every little piece of that for granted. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, men do this too. I've done this, in relationships that I've had in the past. I thought, I can just go out here and do this and do that. And then recognize later that, wow, the person I was hanging out with was actually really great. Like I had a situation, and I think I might have said this before. There was a lady that I dated, and after about 2 months, we kind of, decided, we both thought, okay, this is not going to work. And then it was funny because she called me back. And then, after about 2 weeks after us stopped dating, and we had a really great conversation. And I honestly thought that was it. And then she called me back again, and then I thought that would be it. And then next thing you know, in the third conversation, she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I ain't doing nothing. What are you doing? So we got together. And even though we didn't really date anymore, we became like really good friends. And we were almost like inseparable for almost a year. So even though, I had kind of given up on this concept of a relationship with this woman, I found out that she was a great woman. But I kind of had taken it for granted while we were actually going through that process. Okay, so I say this because I want to put myself in this for a lot of women that are watching and think that men are always saying bad things, because we're not always saying bad things. What we're saying is there is a way that humans get when they don't appreciate what they have and they don't hold it in high value. Now, one of the things that you hear me talk about all the time on this channel is the 3 different types of women. The instinct-driven women, the heart-based women, and the thinking base. And I've also told you that there are male equivalents to these three. All right. And generally speaking, it's the instinct driven women that have it the hardest in dating. But I've said this before, it's not just Black women. It is all women. I actually just did a video of it and I'll put it up so you can see. And you can go check out that video if you have not already checked it out. Because what I'm constantly trying to explain to at least the women that follow me is it has nothing to do with your skin color. It has nothing to do with anything but the way that you're going through life. So the reason why I really enjoyed what she had to say, because it really does speak to the situation. See, there is a point where a lot of Black men feel, I want you guys to focus on that word, feel. A lot of Black men feel that women are sitting around and they're doing this. Black men will say, hey, we would like for you guys to do this. We would like it for you to And over and over and over again, a lot of Black men feel that Black women aren't listening. And I'll be honest, there was a time when Black women felt that Black men weren't listening. But what I've really noticed, and I've talked about this before, is it's generally who's in what position. See, generally when you're in that protector provider mode, people don't listen to you. I don't know why that it works that way, but it seems to work that way. As you get closer and closer and closer, and you go down the socioeconomic level as the women come up, and now they are the literal leaders of pretty much every household, okay, you get a lot of them feeling like Black men are not listening to them. But then as you go in reverse and you start to go up, 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 you start to see the exact opposite, where a lot of Black women are no longer listening to Black men. But the difference between the two types of Black men is that the Black men at that higher socioeconomic level can actually do something about their situation. See, it's a little bit more difficult for a guy who has a job that locks him into America, that locks him into a situation where he cannot financially go outside the country, to change his situation. But it's much easier for a man who is educated, who actually has a VP type of job or a high six-figure type job. It's easy for him to leave the country. And it's easy for him to start working with people to bring them back into this country. Or to do his entire job in another country. And see, the reason why she's saying it doesn't make sense is because these Black men are some of the better Black men. And a lot of Black women want access to the better Black men. And I'm not one of these guys that believes that every single Black woman has chased Pookie her whole life. I'm just not one of those guys, because I run into good Black women that do not chase Pookie. They've never chased Pookie. They don't like Pookie. They've never had a one-night stand with Pookie. They've never dated a Pookie. Okay. And most of those Black women, I'm gonna be honest with you, they're married. They're married now. Okay, because they know what good men look like. They're able to get in front of them and they lock them down. They're very quick to lock them down. And you say, how does a Black woman lock a man down? Well, first of all, she picks well, and then she shows him how much he's worth to her. She does not treat him like trash. She treats him great. And when Black women do that, and they're doing everything else they're supposed to do, okay, then that man locks them down very quickly. Okay, that's how that works. But a lot of the women that are left over, and I think we have to be honest with ourselves about this, okay, they're generally making a mistake somewhere. And I've talked about this so many times. And I think, again, it's hard for a lot of Black women, and they just, but you really don't need to do that, because Black men are doing the same thing. It's like I've told you guys before. I've literally I've had discussions for women and men, and the men are the same, where they never want to look up the videos where I am literally 100% dedicated it to them. They just skip those videos. It's like those videos don't exist. But what men are saying, and really this whole leftover concept is, like I've said, and it's both men and women in this bucket. Like I said, you go to the grocery store, 100 apples in the bag. You're there to pick an apple. You only need one apple, but you're there to pick an apple. Which apples go first? According to brides.com, it's between 32 and 35. So if you are over that and you've never been married, you've never been proposed to, and you have not been in a long relationship, then there could be things that you're doing that's hurting you. And if you're a man and you're over 40 and you've never been married, you've never, proposed to a woman and had her say yes, or been in a very long relationship. When I say long relationships, I'm generally talking about like 7 years or more. Then again, there could be something that you're doing. And see, what's happening is we don't want to fix ourselves. We want to continue to go down this merry path where nothing is really getting fixed. But what the Bible says about that is the equivalent of a dog returning to their vomit. And if you've ever had an average dog, the average dog, when they get sick, when they eat something that makes them sick, they throw it up, they walk around for a while until their stomach is settled, and then they go back and they eat it again. It is the equivalent of, like what I'll say a lot of times, of taking your head and banging it against a brick wall. You're believing that the wall is going to change. You're believing that the world is stupid, that everybody out here is trying to hurt you. And you're believing that you can continue to do what you've been doing, even though it has not worked all this time. And you're thinking one day you're going to get it and it's going to work. And see, this is one of the problems that I have when I deal with most of the other coaches that primarily talk to women and women alone. And for the ladies that follow me, they know that I talk to women and men. Because a lot of those coaches, they already know this. They know the same thing that I'm telling you. But what they do is they lean into your fantasy. They don't tell you the hard truths. They don't tell you about changing yourself. Instead, they'll be like, 5 ways to know he likes you. 5 ways to change a player into a good guy. 5 ways to level up. It's your time, sis. Come on up, glow up. Go on a fashion haul with me. They don't want to tell you the hard stuff, because the hard stuff will pull you out of your fantasy, force you into reality, and then you have to deal with the situation. But see, that's one of the issues that a lot of women face, and it's one of the differences between women and men. Most men, when you tell them what their problem is, most, not all, okay, because some of them, they doing the same thing. They're hitting their head up against a brick wall. But some of them, what they will do is that they will go out and they will make changes. They will make changes. And that allows those men access to places they never had access before. And even they are generally, surprised. And I've even told you guys a story about a guy in my group, and he might be watching this video. And he just changed his shirt and his pants and put a chain on. And he came out and all the women were going crazy. They were going crazy. Everybody was giving him compliments and all this other kind of stuff. Why? He only changed 1 or 2 things. One of the things that I've been constantly telling him and a lot of other men to change. Just clean up the outside a little bit. And that got him so much attention. And see, that's what a lot of men are trying to say. Like, what I try to encourage women to do more than anything else is to be humble. To be humble. Don't think you're better than the man. Because see, society is trying to tell a lot of women, especially instinct-driven women, that they're better than the man, and you're not. No one's better than anybody else. There is no prize. Okay? Now, I agree with heart-based women and with thinking-based women. You have to say, you guys are worthy. You're worthy of love. God loves you. And I agree, because they're a different type of woman. But see, this is why I don't like putting everybody in the same bucket. I don't like saying everybody's a part of the same group, because they're not. And that's why I divide it the way that I do. And I try to help you all to know, okay, what bucket am I in? Am I instinct driven? Am I thinking based? Am I a hybrid between thinking and heart based? So through this channel, you can put yourself in 6 different groups. And depending upon that group, you're going to run into a different type of scenario out here. And then I speak directly to your group. I don't want to lie to you, and I don't want to hurt you by allowing you to stay in an area that is hurting you. And what this woman is saying, she is saying, like, look, there are men out here that are fed up and are tired, and they have the ability to come to our country and get women. And Western women, like I said, generally it's going to be instinct women. You don't know anything about us, so why are you looking down on us? And then honestly, and that's the part, it hurts me, to kind of say it, because I do talk to both men and women, but there is that rip where she was just like, look, if you're all that, why can't you keep your men? That's like one of the fundamental low-level core things. And it's not hard to keep men. It is not. I've said that over and over again. One of the big problems right now is a lot of men in the West feel that women don't want them because there's all this high divorce rate. Now, I know for the ladies that are watching that there's more to that divorce rate than these men are trying to, talk about. And I know for the guys that are watching me, y'all heard me talk about it. And I'm sorry, you still got to be good to your woman. Okay, you can't just marry a woman and then, what you doing for me today, girl? I guess I'm going to cheat on you today, girl. I'm just going to do what I want today. I don't feel like playing with these kids. No, you can't be that. You have to be present and actually have to push and work the relationship. Every relationship needs to be worked. So men have to work the relationship and women have to work the relationship. And I'll be honest, I've never seen a divorce happen when both sides are working the relationship. It's generally what happens is one person kind of becomes selfish. And I also think sometimes they become depressed. And I've talked about that in a few videos because depression can lean into selfishness because you're so depressed that you're in a place where all you can do is make sure that you're okay. All right. And so depression, I think, is like a silent killer of marriage. And I think people need to pay attention to that. But, for the sake of this video and to get back to the point, I have to give the woman props. I'm sorry. She summed it up, and I can't hate on men going out to find love. And I don't think that, a lot of women, if they really think about it, that they can hate on them either. And I understand the pain of saying, I can't find anyone and I don't know who's going to love me and who's going to take care of me. But again, I believe if you follow a lot of my videos and you watch a lot of my videos, that I'm constantly telling women how to do it. Okay, so again, I'm all about solutions. I'm not about problems. So for the women that are watching me, I'll say it again. So if this is your first video, I'll say it again really quickly. The first thing to do is to make sure that you're in an environment that likes you. You have to go where you're liked. I don't understand why people have a problem with this. Go where you're liked. Okay, I've told people all the time, don't move to Atlanta. But in a way, if Atlanta's your best choice, then, you have to do what you have to do. I'm just letting you know that Atlanta is not what a lot of people make it out to be. And then even if you come to Atlanta, you don't need to be in a club. You don't need to be in a club unless you are a club person. So if you're that type of person that you want to smoke the hookah and you always want to be, fooding and all this other kind of stuff, and you want to be around the music and the glitz and the glam, if that's you, then go to that and be in that environment. But I do not believe, and I've said it in multiple videos, I do not believe that that's where you're going to find your best men. All right? Your best men are just going to be walking around. And I'm constantly telling women that men are concerned about 3 main things. Men are very concerned about how attractive you are. So I'm not saying you got to walk around fully dolled up every single day, but you need to be walking around like your own personal 6 or 7. And more than likely, again, your mama was actually supposed to teach you that. You're never supposed to leave out of the house looking a mess. All right. The next thing is it's about supportiveness, being supportive of his hopes and dreams. And then the next one is just being a genuinely nice person. And you don't understand how powerful being a nice person is. If you're nice to a lot of guys, you might think that guy's out of your league, but he might want to talk to you just because you're a nice person. Okay, you'll be surprised how powerful just being nice is. Now, being nice does not mean being used and allowing anyone to use you. See, and I think people think, oh, if I'm nice, he's going to use me. No, 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 no. Nobody, you put yourself in a position to be used. Being nice just means, I could be nice to everybody. I could be nice to the bum on the street. He could say, hey, you got $5 for me, brother? You got $5 for me, brother? No, brother, I ain't got no $5 for you, but you got a little something on your nose, man. When I leave out of this grocery store, you know what? I tell you, I'll buy you some wet wipes. I can buy you $1 worth of wet wipes, so you can clean your face up. That's being nice. Okay, being taken advantage of is, him like, man, come on, man, give me $5, man, give me $10, man, come on, man, you got it, man, blah, 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 blah. And then me falling into that. See, those are two totally different things. Okay, so you can be nice to anyone, but that doesn't mean you have to be a pushover. All right, so I'm not saying be a pushover, but be nice. And the number one thing I'm always telling women to do is to talk. You will be surprised. Like I was just at the park the other day, and I was walking around because sometimes after, I eat lunch, I try to go walk it off, so to speak. So I'm at the park and I'm walking around, and there was a woman, that was walking, and she was probably, maybe 27, 28. She, looked okay. She wasn't unattractive or whatever, but as I walked past, like I said, I'm from the South. So I was just like, hey, how you doing? And she didn't even pay attention to me. She just kept it moving. And I know that she at least saw me look at her, watch my mouth. She had earpieces in, but saw my mouth do something, and she just kept it going. And I wasn't mad at her for doing that, because I do recognize that a lot of women are trying to protect themselves. And where I saw her, she might have felt she was in a vulnerable place. But the problem I'm saying is, women, you guys do this all the time. You don't do this just a little bit. You do it all the time. And she doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know what I'm walking with. And so it puts her in a position where she's allowed a guy to leave. She's allowed a guy that she could have just said hello to. And if we were in a grocery store or anything like that, she could have talked to me for 5 minutes. And see, that is the side that I don't see enough women doing. Same thing at church. Don't be so quick to leave after the benediction. Try to hang out. Hang out around your chair. Hang out around the church, period. Join church groups. Okay, at the church I go to, about 50% of the women that join, what they call small groups, some people call them, Bible groups. I've heard a lot of different terms for them, but about 50% of the women that join those groups end up getting married. But you have to join the group and you have to be a participant. And then when you're a participant, you have to engage with the men. And again, it's always funny to me because, SCSC, Christian Singles Connect, for some of y'all that are new, that's kind of the Christian group that I'm over. We'll have situations. I literally just did it. We had a brunch. And it was funny. We had about 25, 30 people came out to this brunch. And most of the men were in like one little area, and then the women were like on the wings. Like the men were in the middle and the women were on the wings. There was no peppering of the men throughout the women. And it's always funny to me like that. And like I said, one of the Bible studies that I attend, literally, I'm telling you, the men were sitting on one side of the room and the women are on the other side of the room. And see, when women separate themselves from men, you can't really get to know the man. Because a lot of times people do a little small talk, as they're going through the bigger group. And you're not allowing yourself to actually have the conversation. Okay? And to even see if you guys have chemistry. So you don't want to take a moment and miss out. And this is why I'm saying position yourself. Position yourself. Shoot, you could just be the woman that says it in the group. Like, why are we sitting like this? And then you just get up and you kick one of the guys out of his chair. You tell him to go take your chair. And then you sit down in the middle of all the men and force him to sit down in the middle of all the women. All right? And you're not forcing yourself, your phone number down somebody's throat. You're just saying, look, why are we doing this? And you could just say, I just want to get to know everybody. It's not about, oh, let me talk to these dudes, like, trying to, be all weird about it. But what I'm saying is women have to put themselves in a position to find the man that they want. All right. And I've told you guys to open up your dating pool. Don't be so quick to get rid of a guy because he's a little shorter than what you're used to, or he doesn't make as much money as what you want him to make, or if he's a little older than what you want him to be, because you do not know. And for all those Christian women that want to talk about where's my Boaz, Boaz was old enough to see Ruth as a daughter. So he was probably 20 years older than her. It doesn't matter how you romanticize it. He was probably 20 years older than her. Now, on this channel, I generally, encourage women not to go over 12 years. I think that that's kind of pushing it. 12 to 13 years is kind of pushing it. But hey, if you find the perfect dude, hey, make it happen. And even in reverse, if he happens to be younger, it's just I generally encourage women to date older. Now, like I said, I really can't hate on anybody trying to find their person. And I think that if Black women are really serious about this, they can't really get mad at Black men. And at the same time, there's a lot of Black women trying to do it, going overseas to different places, to try to find their man. It's a lot of Black women saying, hey, we'll date white men, we'll date, Latino men, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I caution Black women, if they're thinking like that, is when I generally see Black women that achieve that, again, they're giving up a lot. And that's the key. They're generally giving up a decent amount. And a lot of times, a lot of Black men, if you would find the more nerdy Black man or the artistic Black man, you'll still give up something. But at least if you really wanted a Black man, you could have them. Because you got to realize we don't all act like Pookie. Okay, I don't act like Pookie. If you watch all of my videos, or even just watch this video, I don't talk like Pookie. I don't dress like Pookie. I don't move like Pookie. Okay? So when a woman comes to me, it's a totally different experience. And I'll be honest, I had a woman recently, she was like, dating you is so different. She was like, you're kind of like what I asked God for. And she was like, now that I have it, I really don't know what to do with it. Because in my mind, she was like, I kind of never thought I would have it. But, and see, that's part of the problem. Because her whole energy is lining up with Pookie. Because she's so used to Pookie. And now this other guy has come into her life. It's different. And now she's forced to change. And she's forced to be the type of woman that I want her to be. Okay, or I need her to be. Or to move in that space where she can relax, where she's not worried about everything. And now when she starts to say, okay, well, let's do, I'm like, no. I'm going to say how we're going to move. I'm going to lead us because that's what I do. And so now everything's different. And she has to deal with it. She has to deal with the differences. So anyway, like I said, there's a lot of information down in the description. You can use that hopefully to, help. And like I said, there's a lot of books and stuff like that. I am working on some books. I'll try to get those out to you guys soon. I'll definitely encourage you guys to watch sitcoms because I'm all about marriage. And those sitcoms might help you in the whole marriage concept. And finally, like I said, I have nothing against Passport Bros. If that's your thing, do your thing. All right. But I'm also going to encourage a lot of the Passport Bros to recognize that there are a lot of foreign women in America. And when I'm talking about foreign women, there are women that literally, they moved here when they were like 10, 12, 14. Some of them maybe, came to college here and moved here. So there's a lot of foreign women here. And the main reason why I want to really, kind of push that out there to those Passport Bros is because depending upon what area you go into, and they've already had at least one incident, it could be dangerous, because you're going into a country that you really don't know these people. All right. So again, like I've said before, I'm not against anybody to find the love of their life. I'm not against women going overseas. I'm not against men going overseas. I'm not against people dating outside of their race or culture or whatever it is. But I am going to say, make sure that you're exhausted the resources in your area. And don't be against leaving the area. Like I've told women in Northern California, dark-skinned women in Northern California, and I've had a few pop in my comments to talk about this. Again, why are you up there? Come down here. I like dark-skinned women. All right? I like all women, but I have no problem with dark-skinned women. So if you got your life together and what I'm looking for, then you can come. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, get in front of the people that like you. Stop hanging in areas just because your family live there, just because all these other people live there. And like I said, I'm not really encouraging y'all to move to Atlanta. And there was somebody, I was trying to tell people to go to Texas, and one of my folk in the comments was like, dude, don't tell them to come to Texas. We got too many people in Texas. So, so go to Texas. I'm just kidding, dude. But like I say, Atlanta really, I'm just letting y'all know, is not as many opportunities as what they advertise here. And I'm really just trying to let you guys know about that. But anyway, please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.